All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. That's right. We
Hey,
are back. I know we were gone
We
for a couple
are.
of weeks. Gone for a couple of weeks. I heard from some of y'all. Some of y'all were talking. When am I getting my controversial conversations back? Well, we're back, and we appreciate even being missed. We're excited to be here with
Yes.
you today for another
absolutely.
controversial conversation. And as always, we're going to dive right into these topics. We got another one that we're going to talk with you about today.
Yes.
And we are missing one of our members for the first time in controversial conversation
Yes.
history.
We knew it would be Derek.
History.
We knew it would be him.
We knew it would be him. If it
Got to be
had to be
Derek.
somebody that was gonna be absent for a show, I'm
Yeah.
gonna talk so much junk about him today because he's not here, and I know he gonna I know he gonna see it. I'm gonna talk all kinds of stuff
Derek,
about
you
him.
enjoy your vacay.
How dare he not be here? How dare he? But even in the absence of him, you already know the rest of the team is in the building, and we're so excited that you are here with us as well. Just like it says down at the bottom, if you haven't done so yet, please share. Share it on whatever platform that you're watching this on because somebody you know will probably benefit from watching this. We want to
Yeah.
make sure everybody knows that Controversial Conversations is doing what we're doing. Listen, I want to take a moment before we jump into what today's topic is. And as always, I want to take a moment and let the rest of the team say what's up to everybody that is in the building. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. And you know, we got to start with the queen of the program. You understand
Oh,
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
queen.
The
The
absolute
queen.
Reverend Doctor, my favorite pastor, somebody that has a true pastor's heart and a
Oh,
congregation that'll cut you if you say the wrong thing about
they
them. Just
will
trying to
cut
let you
you.
know
They
they
will
will
cut you.
cut you. I'm talking
Yeah.
about none other than the Reverend Dr. Nicole D. Jean Simone. Say what's up to the people,
Hi,
Nikki.
guys. Did you miss us? We missed you. And we're glad
Absolutely.
that you missed us. Hey, Tawny. Yep, Tawny texted me, said, hey, are you guys going on? I had a few text messages coming through. We here. Hey, Karen, good to see you all tonight. Let's get it going.
That's right. That's right. Listen, we're excited to be in the building. We got another crazy topic for you. But before we release it, matter of fact, not just tonight, the team and I just went over some things this week. We got something ready for y'all for the next few weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just just
absolutely.
just put it just put your seatbelt on. Tonight is going to be crazy. The next couple of weeks are going to be even wilder. We're so excited. These are all things we just need to talk about in the body.
Mhm.
And speaking about things that we got to talk about. If you're going to talk about the Bible, you got to make sure you understand the context, context. Y'all already know who it is. Come on, man. Calvin, come on, say what's up to the people.
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? Good to see everybody. I hope you got your thinking cap on tonight because we're going to get into a real crazy, very much controversial conversation tonight.
Mm.
And I pray that that the spirit of offense will not take hold of you tonight.
Oh,
Mm.
that's
I'm
good.
believing
That's
God. I'm
good.
believing God that you won't be offended by what's going to be said tonight because we're going coming straight from the Bible. So
Mm.
I'm glad to see y'all. Good to see y'all back, and let's have a good time, y'all. Let's roll.
All right. All right. I like it. Well, listen, I'm with it. You're with it. So why don't we dive right in? Ladies and gentlemen, tonight on episode 7 of Controversial Conversations, season 2, episode 7, what we're talking about tonight is church traditions versus biblical truth. Church
Mhm.
traditions versus biblical truth. There's a lot of things that we do in the church that we are accustomed to. There's things we do, there's things we say in the church that we
Hmm.
are accustomed to. And you know what? You could have a lot of people probably think it's in the Bible somewhere and the truth is it is not. These are not biblical things. These are not biblical statements. These are not scripturally backed or scripturally supported. It is just tradition that we do or that we say that has worked its way in to the point where we can mistake tradition for truth.
Absolutely.
We've been doing the tradition for so long that we decide that tradition, or we believe that tradition is not just a tradition, but that it's actual biblical truth. And we're going to talk about a couple of things today. I asked my teammates here to come up with some things that we either say or that we do. And you know what? I want to be even more interactive on today's show, especially in light of my boy Derek not being in the building. So we're going to be paying close attention to the comments today. Close attention, because we also want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Do you think of some things that are church tradition but not based in biblical truth? We're going to be looking at the comments, and we'll be talking about some of the things that you're talking about in the comments. But first, let's get started with the team. Guys, let's talk about some things that are a part of church tradition. I know I got one or two that are part of church tradition, but there's no biblical, scriptural basis for it whatsoever.
Okay. I mean, we've kind of already gone over this a little bit, but some holidays, pretty much most holidays.
Most holidays. Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
Right. No biblical basis for a lot of that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Holidays, which comes from the combination of holy days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about holidays, it actually comes from the idea of holy
days. Yeah, absolutely.
Holy days. That's where this term comes from. And yet, as we start looking at these holidays, what is the holy origin of these holidays?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we've definitely talked about that. Matter of fact, we got on such a tangent on that, Nikki. I thought we was gonna do a whole show just on these not holy holidays.
I had Calvin about to put his tree back up. Okay, Calvin was the tree back up. How about that? I said, "What, Calvin?
Leave my tree alone. Okay?
Leave my tree alone. 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 If I can't have my tree, you can't have your pledge.
Don't talk about my tree.
Don't talk about my tree.
All right, tree.
Calvin was ready. Calvin said, if they say holidays on this show, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about my tree.
Don't talk about my Christmas. Leave my Santa alone.
Locked and loaded. He knew one of us was going to say holidays, and he probably thought it was going to be me. He was ready with his rebuttal. Take my tree. Take my tree.
No, leave my tree.
Tiana, can we look at a comment? Because I think for me, what Shonda just said is a whole thing, right? About not wearing pants. But to me, I did not grow up in an apostolic holiness church. I grew up in a Baptist church.
Okay.
And I joined the Pentecostal church as an adult. And a lot of the things, and it wasn't really like a strict Pentecostal church, but a lot of the people that I went to church with grew up with those strict traditions that were completely foreign to me. They were like, we couldn't go to the movies, we couldn't wear lipstick. And I'm like, why?
Exactly.
Right. Those things. So I think that's like a whole thing, like, I'm saying apostolic because that's what I know it to be, but you know what I'm saying, like the traditions they had were like way beyond anything I was familiar with growing up.
Right. But the church, believe it or not, Asbury Park Deliverance Center under Pastor Sneed was apostolic years ago. You remember this?
Major apostolic.
Years ago. Listen, when I tell you, no pants, no earrings, no makeup. That was all of the world. You couldn't do that. No, here was one that affected me. No cards.
Oh, absolutely.
Like no Uno either?
No Uno, no
No,
spades,
not at all.
no.
No.
It was all the devil.
It was all, yeah.
Every bit of. If you put cards on my mama table when we was growing up, because she grew up in Deliverance, you put cards on the table. That was gonna be a problem. You playing. You must be playing with the devil, right,
Yep.
Tawny? That's right. No jewelry, but
No
your
jewelry.
wedding ring. No necklaces, no earrings.
Nope.
All of that stuff was part
No
of
makeup.
church tradition
No. Mm-hmm.
that was held on to like it was absolute truth. Like somewhere in the Bible, it said that if you wore an earring, you was a Jezebel.
Yeah.
Like that's
Wow.
how it was.
That's
That's
yeah.
how it was held on to. Like if you were a woman and you wore pants, you were trying to be a man.
Yo, Nyla, I just thought the same
Look,
thing. What would Nyla say? I
look.
literally am sitting here thinking the same
Look,
thing.
look.
And this is all pertaining to women. This is crazy.
You could tell who Nyla's pastor is, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sitting there like,
You
Absolutely.
could tell who Nyla's pastor is.
right?
Because Nyla and Nikki picked up on that real fast.
I was
Hold on,
like,
what's all these
Yeah.
this is
restrictions?
just sexist patriarchy.
And
For-
all
for-
these restrictions only got to do with women?
Only had to do with women. The only thing for men was you couldn't wear hats. You
In the-
couldn't
in the
wear
sanctuary.
jeans in the sanctuary. Yeah,
You
in the
could wear them to
sanctuary.
church.
You could wear them
just
to
had
church.
take 'em
Yeah,
off
you
in
had
the
to take it
sanctuary.
off.
What
Yeah,
is-
you couldn't wear jeans. You know,
Okay.
like, but everything else was women.
It was women.
That's just it's just the truth.
It was all
everything.
about how
It was
women
all about
were
women.
supposed to
But then-
present themselves.
But then women couldn't back in the day. They couldn't even wear that outside. They couldn't wear that in the sanctuary, and they couldn't wear that outside.
Anywhere.
Like I remember with growing up where when you went to the pool, like you had to wear, you couldn't wear no bathing suit. Like you had to
Nah.
wear a t-shirt with a bodysuit under
Yeah.
it. With
Yes.
and the t-shirt couldn't be white. It had to be a different color that was dark, like black
right.
or
That's right.
dark blue or navy blue, because you couldn't see nothing. There was
That's
nothing
right.
to see. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Because not only did you have to have the shirt on, but when the shirt got wet, I don't want to see nothing underneath.
I don't
the
want to
shirt.
see that.
What
Yeah,
we-
exactly.
what we-
That's why they
what
wore
we-
the big. That's what the bodysuit came up. Come on.
That's right.
What we-
Holiness is
what we-
right.
What we not gonna do during Women's History Month?
Holiness is right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
Calvin.
I don't want to see none of that. Hey, holiness. Holiness.
It's holiness
And
on
Women's
hell.
Month.
Holiness on hell.
I can't. Oh my God.
It was serious, man.
Well,
It
then,
was
like,
serious.
They were like because some of the people I went to church with at that time, and I was in the Pentecostal church for 6 years, but they still practiced those things, even though they were no longer under those leaders.
Yeah.
There
yeah,
were women that
absolutely.
they just were not comfortable wearing pants. I remember a
Absolutely.
woman that would wear a covered, and I don't know why she did this, but like the covering looks like a doily on your
Yeah.
head.
Mhm, yeah, those-
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
She
the
wore
little
it
ring.
all. Yes,
Covering.
she wore it all the time, and I was like, "Why do you wear that? Like just all the time?" And she was like, "I'm always in prayer." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." Like,
Always?
it's happening.
I'm always in prayer.
Was
I
she
have to
married?
have my-
She was
The
not.
prayer cap.
No, she
Oh, she
wasn't
wasn't
married. Is
married?
that
Oh,
a
okay,
difference?
okay,
Like you have to
okay.
wear it if you're not married? Like I don't know.
the
Oh, the
cap.
prayer cap. Okay,
The
thank
prayer
you.
cap.
That's one of my best friends, Renata. You know, Renata,
Yeah,
you were
the
in
prayer
that
cap.
church with me.
The prayer cap. You gotta wear the prayer cap because you're a woman. Because when
Right.
a woman prays, you need a doily on your head,
Right.
or
Yeah.
else your prayer will not be answered, or you out of order, because you exposed.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
where did these traditions come from?
Where did they come from? Right.
Wow.
And a lot of it, I think, was misinterpreted text,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And then some of it, I think, was
And patriarchal leadership.
right.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
Because the way men viewed women in general is the way women were treated in church.
Absolutely.
The way that men viewed women in society in general is the way that women were viewed in church. And so
I got to drink some water. Y'all have really worked up. I'm like,
you know what? You know what? Hey Calvin, how about we do this, bro? It is Women's History Month. How about we not set Nikki off
No,
on-
definitely not. Definitely not.
How about we don't set Nikki off today?
It's
framing
okay. I don't think we're gonna get to this episode without setting me off, so that's okay. I have my water bottle. I am all right. But it's some of this stuff, and my spiritual daughter is me and her thinking the same thing. She said churches need to teach self-control. I don't so much weight being put on the woman. You can't show anything. How about ask the brother to have some control of himself? Like I've seen so many women try to kind of, I don't know how to, not that it's sexuality or sensuality or anything like that, but make themselves look masculine. I'll put it like that. In the church. Yeah. Okay, let me give a practical example. Like for myself, when I tried to find clergy attire when I first got ordained, it was all very like masculine, and I didn't like it. And I was just like, well, this looks kind of making me look masculine and stuff. And then I started, there were certain companies I found that made robes and clergy attire for women that I was more comfortable with, but I was really made to feel like I had to wear that because God forbid I was too attractive in a pulpit. And I've had someone say that to me before as well. Oh, well, you're so pretty. You can't be too attractive in a pulpit. It'll distract people. Like what?
Now that you done said that, I got to put Nyla's comment up there for sure. For sure. Because how is it that, listen, there is accountability on each side, right?
Absolutely.
Every single person, male, female, doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Every person must exercise wisdom and self-control.
Absolutely.
Wisdom and self-control. But you know what I find? You don't find anybody saying anything to the guy who comes to church with the shirt that's actually a little too small for him, so that his chest and his pecs and his arms can be clearly seen in the shirt, because he wants to show up at the church with all his muscles out and everything like that. Nobody says anything to that guy who is dressing in a way to make himself try and look more attractive or more physically appealing in the church, but let a woman wear a dress that just happens to follow the flow of her curves, and now she is the problem. Each person, male and female, needs to exercise both wisdom and self-control. Wisdom and self-control.
How tight could Eddie Long shirts have gotten? Anyway, let's not talk about
this. Man. It was crazy.
It was getting out of control. It was getting
out of control. It was out of control. It was way out of control. He was
like a wrestler to me at the end, towards the end, before he got sick. He was looking like a wrestler. I was like,
yeah.
Bishop Long.
And the guns was always out. The guns was
out.
Yeah.
And God bless God bless
in the pulpit.
The deceased. Yeah.
So okay, so that's one thing, right? The dress code. The church dress code, especially when it comes to women, that was a church tradition, not necessarily based in biblical truth. Calvin, come on. What is a church tradition not grounded, rooted, either something we say or something we do, not grounded, not rooted in biblical truth? Hit me with it, Calvin. Uh-oh. You see the way he looking, y'all? You see the way he looking? I'm about to big screen him for this one.
Okay. Y'all ready for this one?
Yeah.
This was gonna be rough. This was gonna be rough. This is a church tradition versus a biblical truth.
Okay.
Going to church. It's a church tradition versus a biblical truth.
Just go for the jugular there, Calvin.
I mean, seriously. Hold on, bro. What you talking?
Okay.
What you talking?
I'm waiting.
Right.
Okay. I can kind of figure kind of where you're going with this, but I want to hear.
Yeah.
Right, because we got people watching right now, and it sounds like you just said people don't have to go to church. What are you talking about?
I didn't say that people didn't have to go to church. What I said was that church is a tradition. It's a tradition to get up on a Sunday morning to go to church. That is a tradition. That is something that's not in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Bible that says that you have to get up on a Sunday morning to go to church. That is your choice. That is a church tradition. That is not a biblical truth. First of all, because there were no buildings in Acts. There were no buildings. Every church was in a home.
A home.
Every church was in a home. So, as you know, Ty Tribbett went on the Breakfast Club this week.
Oh yeah.
And he set the whole body of Christ on fire simply because they didn't hear the whole entire interview. They only heard a snippet of what he said, and they just took it. They just took it from there.
But Calvin, even the snippet itself was clear. They just didn't.
Oh, it was clear. Yeah, they just didn't like what you said. It was very clear. It was very clear. It was very clear because he started out saying, when it comes to church and church politics and church, what's the other word? Because I know there's church politics and church what? Give me another word.
Polity? You talk about polity or what? Politics.
Politics, church politics, church, just church in general. Church structure. He was talking about the structure of church. He said the structure of church,
is whack.
It's whack. But he was talking about the church structure is whack. He didn't say the church was whack.
Right.
He said the church structure.
See, Shonda, that's not what he said. See, right there. He ain't say church was whack. That's not what he said. He said the church structure is whack. The church politics is whack. The church hierarchies is whack. The way people are going about doing church, treating it like a business, is whack.
It's whack. And I totally 100% agree. The only problem that I had was that he said it on a secular platform, you know, and so which leads to other things that people can be able to say against the church. It did set the church on fire, like, hey, we shouldn't have did it on that platform. But what he said was absolutely right, because church has become a tradition. This is what we do. We just get up on Sunday morning, we go to church sometimes for 2 to 3 hours, and absolutely doing nothing. And I'm just
Calvin, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And God never showed up. He never came. He was never there in the first place. And we did it, and then we came back the next Sunday and did it all over again. Or everything, followed the program all over again. Church structure is whack. Church structure needs to be changed. It needs to be reconstructed. It needs to be something that is thought of. So I really do think coming to church on a Sunday is a tradition, but it is not a biblical truth. Please do not throw at me with the scripture for us to assemble together as blah 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 blah. I don't even want to hear that crap, because that scripture is taken out. It's taken out of context. Taken way out of context. When it talks about assembling together, it doesn't even talk about church. It just talks about people getting together and to fellowship with one another. But we have made it a tradition. Now, here's the thing. I love going to church on Sunday, so I'm not against it. But what I am saying is, let's not make it a law that that's the only day that we're supposed to come to church, or that's the only thing that we can do is just go to church. And that's Calvin, a problem too.
You're really knocking on something right now, because since the tradition is so deep ingrained in us that we go to church on Sunday, and that seems to be like the only thing that we focus on, right? And so we go to church on Sunday, and then Sunday becomes the only time we do anything that has anything to do with church.
Absolutely.
Okay. I agree that the whole structure of one day a week being the day that we gather is a tradition. But I think to go more in the biblical direction is to do even more than that. So I think it requires more, because in Acts chapter 2, it says that they gathered daily. So are you ready to gather daily? You know what I'm saying? Because right now it's like a 1 or 2 times a week thing for a lot of people if they go to church and they go to Bible study. But the scripture talks about how they gather daily. So if we're leaning more towards the biblical truth of it, I think it would be more than just a once a week thing.
But did they gather daily in church?
No, they gather daily in homes. They gathered in the temple courts. You know what I'm saying? Things like that.
Like
But
the park and different things and
yeah.
whatever.
So
Yeah.
I think that would require even more. Like it's also, this probably wasn't maybe the culture at the time when Sunday became the thing, when Sunday church became the thing. But even like now, I'm saying now in the culture that we live in now, it's hard for us to get people to do it once a week.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
because we got jobs and we got kids and we got school and we got whatever else is going on. So we're gonna lean more in the biblical structure of how things were. It's a daily requirement, and then that's even more. So if I can't get you to come one day, how am I gonna get you to come 6 and give you 1 day of Sabbath?
But what does that say about the state of the relationship or the church itself, right? If I look at some other faiths, right? If I look at some other faiths, it just seems like you said, Nikki, it's hard enough to get you to show up on a Sunday, right? But if we look at some of the other faiths, like whenever they're supposed to show up, they show up because their faith is that integral and that important in their life that's the thing that takes the primary spot when it comes to time, treasure, and talent, right? Is their faith. And so that's where the primary amount of devotion goes to for a lot of other faiths. And it just seems like here in the freedom of the Christian church, because we got freedom, we don't really like to do nothing. Right? Because listen, if I can get away with not even going, then you start going like Nyla over here, and you start attending Bedside Baptist, because listen, in the freedom that I have in Christ.
Right. But what she said is she watches church every day, which she does. She's just that kind of person, that kind of kid.
Not only is she watching, she's studying.
Yeah, but I get what you. I mean, I agree with you, Tiana. It's like, but also to Calvin's point, maybe people are tired of if you go to church and it's nothing on Sunday, right? Or if so a lot of people are interested in the service part of church, being like serving community, right? But if I can join the local nonprofit organization around the corner and feed people and do things serving people, but to them it seems like that's more valuable. That's more a better. I bet I'm spending my time in a more valuable way doing that than I am sitting in the building for 2 hours, right? So I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So right there, church. But you know what? I got one that's on that same lines. How about this? Church tradition versus biblical truth. Ready? We talking about church, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Talking about church. And I'm going to say this with my favorite pastor sitting right there. I'm going to say this. Ready? Here we go. Church membership is not biblical.
Okay. I'm interested in hearing.
Membership.
I'm interested in hearing this.
Because churches don't own souls. They're not your people. They don't belong to you. They're not yours. You don't own them. And churches getting mad because a person decided to go attend another church as though you owned them and they belonged to you.
I agree with you.
Church membership is this thing that has become its own beast and its own monster. It's created its own problems and its own drama in the body of Christ because churches treat members like the church owns the member. Like the member belongs to the church and not just to the body of Christ and worships at that church. And maybe even works at that church, but you don't own that member. And ain't nothing wrong with a person deciding, instead of fellowshipping at this local fellowship, I'll go ahead and fellowship at this local fellowship. There
Mhm.
is nothing wrong with a person deciding to choose to fellowship in another church and another location. Why do pastors get their feelings hurt? Why do members treat members who don't attend your church anymore like they just been ostracized from the body?
You
Mhm.
know what? Let me ask you this. I mean, not well, let me probably answer the question. I think one of the reasons is because the reason why pastors get so worked up when a person is going to another service. I think it's because the pastor really sits and really think about how much time and effort and prayer and counsel that they
So,
had with that specific person. Now I'm getting ready to
so
say what you now I'm getting ready to say what you're saying. But there are pastors that feel like, man, I put time, I put money, I put all types of stuff into this person. I poured my anointing in this person, and I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that, and then all of a sudden they just come to you and just be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. The Lord is calling me somewhere else, and this and that, blah blah blah. It may put you
amen.
in the funk, but here's my thing with that is the what you're doing is for. You were
Right,
called to do that.
right.
That's what you were called to do,
Because all the time
and
that you're talking, I'm like, that's your job, but
it's
that's
your
your
job.
job, but that's
Yeah,
what you're called to do, and you don't own them. So one person plants, another person waters.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
God brings the increase. So if they were placed under
Now,
your care for that period of time, then it was your job to care for them. And when that time comes to an end, then that time comes to an end. You didn't own them.
Dr. Nikki, what you think about that? Because you're more you and Derek are actually pastoring
Yeah.
people. So like what do you think about that?
I think I'm sitting here listening, and I think I have been under that kind of leadership, but I don't know if it's a choice that I choose not to be that kind of leader. Uh,
What do you
thank,
mean?
so thank you, Nyla.
That's what
I
Tyler said.
Yeah, Nyla, like my pastor doesn't, and I don't. So let me tell you something. I'm done this week, Calvin.
Okay.
So I'm in a Methodist church. We have methods for everything, right? And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
we have quarterly conference, what we call quarterly conferences, and
Yes,
that's when
absolutely.
the
Yep.
presiding elder comes in 4 times
Mm-hmm.
a year, and they check on the condition of the church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And during that time, they go over your role and everything. So, and I've been going over my role just because I need to assess my role. So, what I mean by assess my role, I have 160 people on my role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I came, I had about 73. So the
Amen.
church has grown over the last 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I realize is that, I don't see 160 people, be it
Right.
online or in person.
Right.
And some of these folks don't attend. And I spoke with my class leaders, that's our form of group ministry, and I
Mm-hmm.
said we need to call people and we need to see if they still want to be on our roll. I said, but I'm okay with them going to another church. But if they left church altogether, I do want to have a discussion with them, because did we hurt them? Did something happen? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, are they okay? I said, but if they're going to another church, I'm okay with that. I'll give you a transfer letter, because I don't own you. Like Tion said, I don't
Right.
own you. I went over that with my small group ministry literally this week. See, Saturday, I went over that with them. And I said, we got to start highlighting the people that, like, I have a member, and this is another thing. Oh God. And if you're watching, if you're a member of my church, please know I'm gonna give you a call. So so, but there's members on my roll who haven't been to church in a long time, and they're somebody's daughter or granddaughter. or nephew or something like that, right? And so I'm like,
Mhm.
are they on our roll? Because grandmama want them on our roll. You know what I'm saying? And so then that means me having a discussion with grandma. I said, listen, let's talk to him and see if he wants to still stay on a roll. If not, let's try to help him find a church where he's at. Maybe we're not the church for him, and that's okay. But I would much rather him go somewhere else than for us to have him on the roll for the sake of numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with us going down to 100 if
Yeah.
if folks need to go somewhere else. And I've had at least, I think, like 5 people transfer this conference year. One right to a church across town,
Wow.
to Troy. It's like 20 minutes. And I heard he was going because his fiance goes there. And I called the pastor up and I said, hey, I hear such and such is coming to your church now. He said, oh yeah, he wants to join. I said, you need a transfer letter?
Right.
You know what
It's
I'm saying?
like,
Because his fiance is over there, and you're a new pastor there. Maybe he likes the way you preach and you teach. That's cool. What concerns me is when people say, I'm leaving the church altogether.
yeah.
Then that makes me go, okay, we need to. How did we hurt this person? But
Right.
you go into another church, go to another church. That's okay.
What,
I'm
let,
not.
well, let me
I'm
say
sorry.
this. Let
Mhm,
me say this, Dr. Nikki.
mhm.
Um, I think you're probably the only pastor that I've ever heard say what you just said.
Wow.
Mm,
You know a lot of pastors.
you
I know a
do.
You
lot
know
of
a
pastors.
lot of
Crazy.
pastors.
That's crazy.
I know a ton of pastors. You probably the only one that I've ever heard that said, "Hey, um, you know what? If they're not coming to my church, I'd just be glad if they just go on to somebody else's church. And do you need a transfer papers? And I just rather you go to church rather you just not go to church." That
Right.
is a pastor for real, that you care about not just the people that are in your care, but you just care about people in general.
In
That you're
general.
in general. I think you're the only pastor that I've ever heard that made that statement. Most pastors that, yeah, that one over there. Yeah, this point.
Wow.
My favorite
No, no, I'm serious.
pastor.
My favorite pastor, because most pastors, the way I just described it a few minutes ago, is exactly what I hear from pastors
Right.
Yeah.
about
That kind of makes me want.
all of the things that they did for the person, and
Right.
then all of a sudden, the person just be like, "Yeah, I'm out." I
Mm,
I,
Yeah.
I think that would hurt a person when you don't know who you are, because most pastors don't even know who they are, because because most pastors ain't trying to be pastors no more. They're trying to be bishops, they're trying to be
mhm.
apostles, they're trying to be prophets, they're trying to be everything else in the church, and so they don't even know who they are. So for you to be able to say, I'm okay if the number is 160 and we check on all of these people, and then 63 of these people are not interested anymore, and I just go down to 100, I'm good. I don't know no pastors like that.
Well,
Because
not
every
to
pastor, most pastors are like, what's these numbers? We gotta get these numbers up.
Mhm.
well,
That's what I hear. We gotta get these numbers
exactly.
up. I'd be like, why?
Right.
The pride of leadership. And it goes into what you talked about before, Calvin, where you were like, but I poured all this time into them.
Yeah,
I
Right. Right.
taught them.
Right. Right.
I talked to them.
yes.
I counseled them. So how could they? Like, no, you've been used in a position of leadership, but the number one thing that leaders have to be mindful of and always be weary of is pride.
Right.
Because
Yes,
pride is one of the
absolutely.
enemy's
Absolutely.
favorite tactics.
Absolutely.
And you're turning
Absolutely.
around here getting disappointed, getting upset because so and so done left your church. Now you don't want to talk to them no more. Because watch this. Look at how ridiculous this sounds. If your care was really for that person that you just poured into and prayed over and did all this stuff for, and then they up and left your church, and now you don't want to talk to them no more, then does
Right.
that really mean
That's a
you
problem.
cared for them, or your feelings
Absolutely.
hurt because it was about you?
It was
Mhm.
about you the whole time.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's not
Absolutely.
yours.
That's
They
sad.
don't belong. They're not yours. They are in your care, but they are not yours.
Right. They're not
Right.
yours. They
You
don't
do
belong
not
to you.
own them. That church does not own them. The pastor does not own them. They are in your care, and you are to watch over them, and it is your job to care for them during the time that they are there, but they are not yours. You do not own them. And if God calls them and they feel led or moved to head to another place of worship, then by all means, bless them, congratulate them, continue to stay in touch with them. You see them, love on them, talk great about the pastor. If you can talk great about the pastor, talk great about the pastor that they're going over there to fellowship with. You're going to get fed. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for you. Why? Because they're moving forward on their journey, because you don't own them. They're not yours.
They're not yours. They're not
Right.
yours.
Right.
I like this comment that Charles Sliceman made. He said, "I changed churches, and there is nothing but love between me and the pastor, and also the rest of the members. But I get what you're trying to say. God bless you, man. Because that is listen. All I know is pastors, and that's not what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
There is no love. There is no love between. If a person left, oh, you cut off." And they're blackmailing you to other pastors in the area. Like, don't trust this person. Don't let them come in your house. Don't let them do this and whatever and this and that. So you a blessed man, because that's not happening for real. Just being honest.
That's sad, Calvin. Though, I really kind of like borderline want to cry right now. Like that's how people are being treated. So something I was talking to my Christian education department about the other night. We've been teaching a Bible study series, how to read the Bible.
Okay.
How to study the Bible.
Okay. And, Calvin, right up your alley, baby.
That's
right
my alley right there, baby.
Well, Calvin,
they made me smile, boy.
We might have you come in, Calvin, to share with us.
But people how to read the Bible.
Yes,
read the Bible. Actually,
how to read the Bible. Yeah.
That's
but
amazing.
what has been happening at our church, and I'm grateful for it. And again, these are not my people; these are God's people, right. And we have had a influx, if you will, not hundreds of people, but a good group a good group of people come in who are young adults, one, and then are new to reading the Bible. And I'm really excited about that, right? So we've had to kind of I was again talking to my Christian education department and to some of those who teach, help me to teach Bible study. I said, we got to slow it down. Don't present things as if people know. You know what I'm saying? Present it as if they've never read this before. This is their first time reading it and stuff. And then I said the other night, God brought it to my mind and my heart. I am entrusting you with these people.
Right.
I am entrusting you with these people. New Christians, new Bible readers. And some of the members who have been in church for years are new Bible readers. Okay. Right. But I am entrusting you to teach these people how to read the word. And so that hit me the other night. And that God is trusting us with this, and we've got to take this serious. And so I'm thankful for my Christian educators who are joining me on this, because when I presented how to read the Bible, some people are like, what do you mean how to read the Bible? No, some people don't know how to read it.
They don't know. They don't know
how to read it. And Calvin, our attendance shot up. Bible study used to be, if we got 15 people in Bible study, it was good. Wednesday, we had 37 people in Bible study.
Wow.
Yes, just because we said we're going to teach how to read it. Yeah. And they're coming because they want to know. I get excited when I get text messages and they say, Pastor, what Bible should I get? They send me this Amazon link, right? Is this a good Bible? Get this one and stuff like that. They're excited about that. But they feel comfortable because in Bible study, we're not trying to make anybody feel like you don't know the Bible and that. No, it's like, let's start with there's 66 books in there.
Absolutely.
There's the Old Testament, there's the New Testament. That's where we're at with that. Right. But I'm saying this to say, with what Tion has said about those not being our people, I really felt a heavy weight the other night with God saying to me, I am entrusting you with these people.
That's right.
I'm trusting you with them.
This whole thing, I'm sitting here and I'm being reminded, and it's sad to even have to think about it this way, but I'm reminded of Jesus's parable about the vineyard and how he had workers that were working in the vineyard, and then the owner of the vineyard sent people to go collect, and they were killed because here's what happened. The workers treated the vineyard like it was theirs.
Like it was theirs.
Right.
They got out of themselves. And so when the master sent his own to come collect, they would kill the ones he sent. And the master was like, all right, fine, I'll send my son. Surely
I said my
they
son.
won't
Yeah.
son,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
know that this belongs
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
son.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
they even went and killed the son because why? Because the workers in the vineyard began to believe that the vineyard belongs to them.
Yep.
Because they were doing work. Now they begin to treat it like it was theirs. And it's sad to say, but I see that same mentality happening in the church where pastors and leaders believe that these souls that, like you said, Pastor Nikki, that these souls that you've been entrusted with, they're not your souls. You've just been entrusted with their care for the time that they've been called to be there. And listen, I don't jump on bandwagons. We already talked, Pastor Calvin, you talked about what Ty Tribbett said this week, but there was another thing floating around about Mike Todd and what he said, which aligns with what we're talking about right now. Where somebody that was in his ministry for 6 years came to him and said, we feel led to go to another church. And he came out in front of the whole congregation and was just like, after 6 years of me pouring in and doing, after 6 years, you tell me you feel led to leave, and you couldn't even tell me the real reason. And I'm just like, I'm not a bandwagon person. I'm not the guy who's going to sit here and talk about Mike Todd or anybody else. But the fact that you could not just be okay with somebody choosing to go fellowship at another church that is part of the body, and that you felt slighted as though you owned them and they left you, is a problem that is permeating churches and leadership. And watch this, it ain't just the leaders.
No.
It's not just the leaders, because the people treat membership like ownership.
Absolutely.
You go to this church. What you mean you going over there? That ain't your church. This your church. You go to this church. How you going to leave this church and go over to that church? What are you talking about?
And I think it's because people thinks in terms that the church is a business. So if I invest in that business, I invest in that person, I'm looking for a return. I'm looking for investment return. I'm looking for exactly. But they're looking for that investment return out of that person. So even that person said, well, okay, like with the whole Mike Todd situation, he put more in it by saying that the person was, sending subliminal messages online. That's going to happen. But why couldn't you just be okay with, hey, the Lord is leading me to be able to do this and whatever and this and that? No, what you're not okay with it because you want a return on your investment. That's what the problem is. That's not pastoring.
That's not
pastoring. That's being a boss.
and watch this. This leads into something else that bothers me, and it doesn't even go on necessarily, but it connects to what you were saying. How the church teaches spiritual principles that the church doesn't then follow as an organization.
Right.
The church teaches spiritual principles to individuals that the church itself doesn't follow as an institution.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been there.
And I think, Calvin, what you said is so anti-biblical. The whole wanting to see an investment when the scriptures say that one can plant and one will water, and you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So if you
God gives the increase,
you might not see the growth, but you did your part. You know what I'm saying? So
and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah,
you got to be okay with that. You signed up for this.
You signed up for it.
Yeah,
you signed up for it. This is your. You don't know what part you're gonna play. You don't know if you're the planter. You don't know if you're the waterer. Right. Or you don't know if you are the point where God is going to bring the increase to be able to be seen by everyone. You don't know what part you play, but you signed up to be okay with whatever part it is that you play.
You know what I think?
Go ahead.
I was like, so you know what I think is interesting? I grew up in Lakewood. I grew up mostly in Asbury Park, but in my teenage years, I grew up in Lakewood. And in Lakewood, of course, all everybody knows that Lakewood has the most population of the Jewish community. They pretty much own all of Lakewood.
Pretty much.
Here's what the interesting thing that I saw that I was like, this is really, really amazing. So let's say a person moves into a neighborhood, right? Person moves into a specific neighborhood in Lakewood, because Lakewood is pretty big. So they move into a specific place in Lakewood, a specific neighborhood. So what will happen is that person or that family is not getting in their car to travel all the way to the other side of Lakewood. Why? Because on the Sabbath,
They have to
can't
walk.
drive.
Right.
You have to walk. So what they do is they find the nearest synagogue and they go to the nearest synagogue and they go in to do whatever we're going to do. Now they may have had a favorite rabbi over here, but for them it's the same teaching. It's the same scripture. It's the same mindset. It's the same songs. It's the same rituals. So why would I get in my car to go and then violate my own principles to go over on the other side where I have my favorite rabbi over here, when I could just go over here and just walk in walking distance to this place over here? I don't understand, because rabbis don't feel like, well, you own me, so you can't move over on the other side of Lakewood. No, it's not like that. It's like, oh, you want to move over there? Oh, okay. Check out Rabbi such and such and such and such. Y'all go over there, serve over there, do what you got to do over there, blah, 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 blah. Why do we, in the black church, it's mostly, I'm sorry to say this, but it's mostly in the black church where we feel like we own slaves. We own you. You're my slave. I
Did you use
invest.
the F-word, Calvin?
Oh, yes, because I invested in you. I put all of this money in you. I'm your slave master.
Not the S word, Calvin. We got.
I'm just calling like you're my slave.
Who's watching?
Not
the
you're
S
my
word.
You're my slave. That's a slave mentality.
We really got to have a different viewpoint that is not biblically based. I just looked at the time. We getting ready to come up on an hour. I got one more, and it has to do with this. Nikki, you actually touched on it a little bit earlier, which made me chuckle a little bit on the inside. Church tradition, and I can't find anywhere where this needs to be backed up by scripture. Ready? Maybe you can help me. Maybe I missed it. Ready? All right. Vestments.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
The only biblical basis that they have is going back to Exodus.
The robes
and Leviticus.
In Leviticus. I was about to say in Leviticus.
I
was just reading it the other day.
The chains, the vestments, the required. You must wear. Where? Why? Where in the Jesus church? Where?
Right. Well, right. You're not going to find it in the Jesus church. Jesus did not wear vestments, right? But the Old Testament, the Old Testament is, I was just reading it. Actually, I just finished reading Exodus and I'm reading Leviticus now, and you see how detailed God is and what He wanted the temple and for the priest to wear, and all of those things. But if God ripped the curtain of the temple itself, why are we placing so much weight on vestments? And even one of the most powerful experiences I ever had, Tion, Calvin, was when I went to South Africa. And we worshiped outside. First of all, got to the church. They said, we're here. I said, where's the church? It was a camp. It was ground.
Right.
Okay. And the altar was literally a stone, a rock, a big rock.
Yes.
And we had church. And it was just like, oh. Yes. So all of the pomp and circumstance. And that was something I wanted to bring up tonight, but we don't have time. Is the pomp and circumstance of things.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying, like and trust, I'm in Methodist church, so we got a lot of it. But we try, and that's another thing we probably have to talk about. We try so hard to pull. We say we're pulling traditions from the Bible, and we pull from the Old Testament what we want, you know, and then what we pull, you know, and honestly, what we pull sometimes is more about our egos than it is about actually following biblical principles. And then Jesus himself, this is something I want. Can I just pull up this one text, Tion?
Yeah. Pull it up.
Please do it.
Okay. And where am I at? Okay, in Mark, what is this? Mark 1 or 7? Wait, I'm sorry. Mark 7. Mark 7. And this is Jesus, okay? Now when the Pharisees gathered together to him with some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem, they saw that some of the disciples ate with hands defiled, that is unwashed, for the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands, observing the tradition of the elders. And when they came from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they purify themselves. And there are many other traditions which they observe. The washing of cups and pots and vessels of bronze. And the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why do your disciples not live according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with hands defiled? And he said to them, wow. Well, did Isaiah prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honored me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men. Keep going, the commandment of God and hold fast to the tradition of men. I'm going to stop there. But we have fallen back into that trap of honoring the tradition of the elders more than we do the word of God.
That was so. Listen, talk about a way to wrap that part up, man. Because and Taretha hit it right on the head. And
yep, absolutely.
Look. Me and Taretha don't agree. It don't happen.
I see you and Taretha going back. I've been in person for y'all going back. You've seen it. Okay,
Taretha
I love
Taretha.
Me
up in the comments.
That's my girl.
She be dropping bombs on me in the comments. But Taretha, we agree. A lot of these robes and vestments that they done magically pulled out from Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. You done pulled robes and vestments out, and it is all ego. I cannot tell you, and it's not just that it is the color of the robe, the you know how ostentatious the robe is. It is the giant necklace you need to put around your neck, and I am grown, Taretha. I am grown. It is the giant necklace that it's all of the pomp that comes along with it under the guise of humility. Absolutely not. Like
under the guise.
It's this guise.
Tion, we can't even live the life that it would require for us to wear it. I just want to say that because y'all think y'all want to wear these things. Say that again. We can't live the life that require the lifestyle required to wear the robe. You can't even live it. And understand that these vestments and these things were made in a certain way with the intent of you being holy enough to wear them. And don't forget that there was also a bell on the priest's foot. There was a bell on his foot because if he went into the holies of holies and he was not clean, he died.
And they pulled him.
So you put these vestments on if you
and a rope
around him. There was a bell on his foot and a rope
and they just pulled him
around him.
And they just pulled him out. If he died, if he dared to put that vestment on and walk into the Holy of Holies, knowing he had a dirty life, he died. But here y'all go wanting to put him on.
This is why we not beat for it. This is why I'm not beat for it. I'm gonna tell you. I think I told y'all this is how I get myself in trouble because I just say stuff. So
Me too.
I had to get relicensed. I had to get relicensed. Okay. And as a part of the relicensing, I was then instructed that I needed to get ministerial vestments. I needed to get, Nikki, you know,
You
I
do.
needed to get the
I know.
black robe.
I gotta put mine in the
I needed
cleaning
to
Absolutely.
system.
get the white robe
Mhm.
because the vestments are dictated and mandated by tradition. So that when we stand in front of the people, I don't know why the robe suddenly makes it qualified for you to stand in front of the people. But when you stand in front of the people, listen, let me tell you something. Biblically, through the example of Jesus, I feel like if there's anybody example we should not be following, it is the example of the priests, the Levites, and the Pharisees. Like we should not be
Absolutely.
following that example because
Absolutely.
Jesus had a lot to say
Mhm.
about them. So that's not really our example. Our example is Christ, who operated in abject humility, who washed his own disciples' feet, which was the job of the lowest slave in the house. It was their job to wash the feet of the visitors and those who came into the house. And Jesus assumed the lowest roles and called no attention to himself and made himself of no report. And yet here we are continuing to follow in the traditions of men, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, who wore these vestments to ensure that people knew who they were. I'm going to finish it up with this, but Calvin, you talked about Lakewood.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've noticed in Lakewood is that although they may wear very similar clothing in the Orthodox Jewish community,
Mhm.
the rabbis still wear clothing to distinguish themselves from everybody else,
Absolutely.
so
You
that when
know.
you're walking down the street, everyone knows that that's a rabbi.
Yep. Yep.
We still find ways to ensure out of pride that we call attention to ourselves so that everybody knows who we are, so we can get the respect and the honor and the position and the seat. We can be placed up on the pulpit where we can sit with our shoulders back and everyone can look at us and go, look at that man of God. And I don't see
Yeah.
God
That.
smiling about any of this.
Yeah. That's another.
Right.
That's another one too.
Look,
The chairs. The chairs behind the pulpit.
I was gonna talk about the whole title of Reverend period, but
Mm.
we don't have the time. But
We got more to talk about.
We got more to talk.
This
you
is
know
going
what's humbling for me? I'm gonna get my vestments in the cleaners because I have to wear it, right? But you know what made me you know what really humbled me like the last couple weeks? Emily continues to throw up on those vestments. And so I just want to say that my baby has humbled me because she's like, this might mean something to them, but man, you know, it's like
Emma was like, this ain't nothing
That's
but
my
fabric.
niece.
This fabric
Right.
ain't no
That's my
different than
niece.
any
That's
other
my.
fabric you put on, mommy.
right.
That's my niece.
She didn't care nothing about these vestments.
That's
You know.
right.
Well, listen, Nikki, while you're on it, we've come to
You
a
still
close
mom.
of another great episode of Controversial Conversations. This has been a great conversation. There's so much more that we could talk about with this. This happens every single time we do a show. There is so much more that we could get into, but I hope that this conversation has sparked some thought in you. So as always, why don't we finish off with our final thoughts? Reverend Dr. Nikki. Reverend.
Oh,
You get all the titles.
y'all know not this Tuesday. Next Tuesday is my defense, guys. So y'all praying next Tuesday.
So
It'll be official.
so once you finish your defense, what happens after that?
I'll wait for graduation.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that little thing down there that say Reverend Nikki.
Right.
Reverend Dr. Nikki.
Reverend Dr. Nikki. Yes.
Reverend
Yes.
Doctor. And what I'm gonna do
Reverend
is I'm
Doctor.
gonna play a clip from season 1.
There you go.
That's right.
Before you ever started this journey, I'm gonna play a clip from season 1 because it was unknowingly prophesied on this
Yes.
very show
Yes.
Mhm.
that you would
Absolutely.
be Reverend Dr. Nikki.
Absolutely.
This is
Absolutely.
true.
and now it's coming
Absolutely.
to pass. Nikki, why don't you share your
This
final
is
thoughts?
true. Oh man, I want to say anything. It's so many things. I feel like so much we could keep talking about. Oh, thank you so much. So many things we could keep talking about. But I just want to. I just want to be careful. I want to be careful. I want to encourage you to be careful not to follow the traditions of the elders, and not to, even if we have to follow the traditions, don't place them above God's word. That's what I want us to be careful of. So, because Jesus himself, that was Jesus speaking in Mark 7,
Absolutely.
saying, you guys got to be careful of this. And I think that we've fallen back into that in a lot of ways. So let's just be careful. Don't put it, please, don't put your pastor's appreciation. And anyway, never mind. All right.
Not the pastor's appreciation.
And I'm a pastor, and I'm telling you this. Don't put that before
Wow.
the, anyway.
Don't put the women in white service before the. Don't
Wow.
do that. Don't put the elevation service before the.
Wow.
Don't
Okay,
do it.
let me stop. Calvin, jump in
Wow.
here, man. Come on, Calvin. Come on.
Wow.
Come on, Calvin. Come on.
So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. There is nothing wrong with tradition. I think tradition is great. I think tradition is wonderful. There are church traditions, there are family traditions, there are different things. There's nothing wrong with traditions. But like what Dr. Nikki said, don't put them above God. A lot of this stuff is not biblical. Please don't make it be biblical, and please do not try to find a scripture to try to fit your narrative and try to fit it in, and then try to bring it to the people. Did I go out?
Little bit,
Did I
but we
go out?
caught you.
Okay. But listen, just don't make it a biblical thing, and just there's nothing wrong with tradition. Jesus actually did a lot of traditions, a lot of Jewish traditions. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it gets crazy when you start making it that this is God. And all of this that we're doing is God, and it's just not. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm looking. That's what I'm seeing now. A lot of pastors be like, "No, this is God's way." I'm like, "Wow!" Like
Right. These are the traditions of men.
it's
Listen, it's been another
traditions.
great conversation. I agree with you, Calvin. There's nothing wrong with traditions. Let's just make sure we know that they are traditions. And let's not
Mm,
elevate them to the level of truth, right? Let's teach it for what it is. This is a tradition. This is why we do this tradition. This is the purpose of the
right,
tradition. But just know it's just a tradition, right?
right,
This is not
right.
biblical truth. It's not something that God told us that we had to do. This is a tradition that we do in the church. Here's why we do it. This is why we've chosen to continue doing it. It doesn't make you more holy. It doesn't make you more this. It doesn't make you more that. It's not in the Bible. This is a tradition. There is nothing wrong with being honest with the people and just telling people, hey, this is just a tradition that we do. If you don't do it, it doesn't mean that you're not a Christian, that you're not holy, not you're going to have like it's just a tradition. Let's teach people what things actually are. This has been a great and engaging conversation. I really appreciate all the comments today. Really try to put a whole lot of them on the screen. You gave us more stuff to talk about. You helped the show be even more engaging. This is absolutely great. We appreciate you as always. And I got to tell you, we got some topics coming up for y'all next week. Should I give them a sneak peek of what we got coming up, y'all?
Yeah, yeah.
Should I give them a
Sneak.
sneak peek of what's coming up for the rest of the season? Okay. Let me give y'all a sneak peek of what's coming up for the rest of the season. Y'all ready for this? Get excited. Here we go. Next week. Next next week's topic. I just looked at it. It made me laugh. Hold on. Next week's topic. Y'all ready for this? Y'all better come back here next week. It's gonna be crazy. Next week's topic. Is God good?
It's gonna upset people. People just
Is God good? Oh, that's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be crazy. How about this? The week after that. How about this? Not. What about the books that are not in the Bible? What about the books that are not in the 66?
Mm-hmm.
Should we read those?
Hmm.
The
Mm.
non-canon books. Should we read those?
God is a good God.
We going there. And how about this? Episode 10, the gospel of inclusion.
Derek better be here for that one. I'm gonna pop Derek because
Yeah.
Derek is all on that. You know that's his thing.
That's his
He
thing.
gonna be here. He gonna be here. He
All
gonna
right.
be here. We gonna have a good time. That's right. Nyla, you got that right. It's gonna be fire. So listen, we
Yep.
want to thank you for hanging out with us for another Controversial Conversations. We hope and pray that you have enjoyed tonight's conversation and that it has been something in order for you to continue to study, continue to eat on and munch on. And this has been coming out in Bible study. I like
That's
that.
the Christian educators right there. Right?
I like that. I like that. So we're
Love
going to
the
keep
show.
talking about it. We want to invite you to come back next week and be a part of the conversation. We want your comments. We want to comment on your comments.
Please.
We want you
Yeah.
to be a part of the show just as much as we are a part of the show. We thank you. We appreciate you. Oh, and if you have not done so yet, please share. Please share. You haven't done so
Yes.
yet, please share. This is it. This is the end. Season 2, episode 7, Controversial Conversations. We appreciate y'all. And listen, we're gonna pop into the after show for just a little bit. Nikki won't be able to join us in the after show because Nikki, tell them what you up to.
I have to get a grant proposal in tonight, y'all. See, pastoring is more than just preaching. Y'all think it's just preaching on the stage. No, this is me staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, putting in grants and doing all types of stuff because we're gonna serve the community.
My favorite.
Pastor.
That's pastoring. She do all of it.
Yeah.
Every level of pastoring. Every level.
So
with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode. Until next time, God bless you. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
We should put a notice out for Derek. Where's Derek? Somebody.
Where's Derek?
Where's Waldo?
Somebody find Waldo. That's what we're gonna call him that next week when he come on. There's Waldo.
Waldo.
There's Waldo. When he come on next week, somebody just call him Waldo. There go Waldo right there. Waldo.
Somebody find Derek.
Where Waldo? We miss Waldo.
We put out an Amber Alert on there.
We miss Waldo.
We miss Derek. We miss Derek.